South Africa has temporarily shut its High Commission building in Nigeria, located within the Central District area of Abuja, due to protest against xenophobic attacks happening in South Africa. A Nigerian group had planned to demonstrate at the SA High Commission to drive home their anger over the xenophobic attacks. It is not yet clear if the closure of the diplomatic building is due to the threat, but the compound has been under intense police protection. Ghana's mission in South Africa has confirmed that the attacks have not affected any Ghanaian yet. The South African High Commission here in Accra has been joining a lot of people to a series of condemnation against xenophobic attacks in South Africa. At a press conference, the Deputy High Commissioner to Ghana, Tapelo Medumani, has condemned the attacks on African migrants, saying that criminality should be called out for what it is.
Allow me to echo my President's statement, which unequivocally condemns the attacks and promises all foreign nationals and commit to them that my government remains committed to restore law and order and to ensure that those who are within our borders, whether they are South African citizens or foreigners alike, that they enjoy the protection of the state. Over the past few days, you would have received reports, or you would have seen reports alluding to the outbreak of violence. My government attributes this to simple criminality and people taking the law into their own hands.
The Deputy High Commissioner for South Africa's mission here, he has also been explaining that some statements made by the High Commissioner Lulu Thingwana were misunderstood.
The High Commission is aware of reports that are making rounds with regard to what our government position or what this High Commission is saying. There are reports to the extent that we are saying African governments must create jobs in their own countries so as to make sure that their citizens do not go to South Africa. That is a misunderstanding of the statement of the High Commissioner. Most of the time when she engages with the media or with her visitors and all that, she talks about a need to create employment wherever we are. The High Commissioner was the Minister of Agriculture. She was the Minister of Women and People with Disabilities and all that. And she sometimes, or most of the time, approached this thing looking at the most vulnerable in the community. So what she was talking about was like the policies that you have here, you're planting and rearing for food and jobs. What does that do? It creates jobs, and it creates jobs where in the rural area, and as such, it stops migration. We have some small industrial development policies. So she was attesting to that. Not that government should make jobs and so that their people should not go to South Africa. South Africa will continue to need skilled labor. We are part of the African community.
That is the Deputy South African High Commissioner there. Well, joining me on the phone now is Kayla Mengwa, who is with Channels TV in Abuja. She is a correspondent there. Hi, Kayla.
Hi.
Hi, Kayla, thanks for your time this afternoon. Now, what can you report on the South African High Commission's building in Abuja? Has it been closed down?
According to reports by the Associated Press, yes, it has. Today there was a protest in front of the High Commission, and the protesters are from a group called the Concerned Nigerians. They were calling for the closure of the High Commission. and of course calling for compensation of the victims who have been affected in the attacks on Nigerians in South Africa, and calling for the Nigerian government to pull out of every single arrangement that they have with the South African government. And that's where we are on this situation. The building seems to be really empty. However, there was a heavy presence of security operatives, mostly from the Nigerian police, outside of the building. So yes, the reports are that it has been shut.
So the workers at the High Commission, are they still in there, or have they all been moved out of the country?
Well, we don't know where they are right now. What I can say is that we didn't see any of them this morning. We just a heavy security presence of police in front of the High Commission, but we didn't see any of the staff inside of the Commission, and we don't know whether they're in there or whether they left.
All right. We also had reports.
The Associated Press say that it has been shut down for now.
We also had reports that the South African High Commission, the commissioner there, had been attacked. How true is that?
We cannot verify that. I haven't heard anything about that. I did see a statement from one of the media outlets claiming that some of the staff of the commission had been harassed, but there's no confirmation of that. And there's no confirmation that the South African High Commissioner was attacked. He sent me a message this evening showing me a statement from someone from the South African authorities regretting that the South African High Commission in Nigeria had been shot and asking for a peaceful resolution to the problem. So that is all that we know for now. Nothing else can be confirmed.
It's been total chaos in South Africa based on the videos that we have seen so far and the reports that we've heard. We've also heard that there was an attempt to, or there are plans to airlift Nigerians who live in that country. Has it started already?
No, it's supposed to start tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 6th, right? Tomorrow is the 6th of September. So the statement that we saw was that Air Peace, that's the name of the that's the name of the airline, by the way. Air Peace was going to give free airlift to Nigerians who want to return back to the country. It's not by force. You're not being forced to leave South Africa. However, as many Nigerians as want to leave South Africa can join Air Peace, and we've been told to tell our friends and relatives in South Africa who are interested in coming back to Nigeria to avail themselves of that opportunity. So that is where it is. The statement says it's going to be from the 6th of September, which I think is tomorrow.
There were reports again that SA or South African businesses or businesses that are linked to South Africa have been some way, somehow attacked. What can you report on that?
What I can say is we saw visuals of one particular MTN shop somewhere in the southern part of Nigeria being burned. We also saw an MTN mast and an MTN billboard being burnt in some parts of Nigeria. However, MTN sent a message to all its customers stating that their customer service will be down. Any service where you have to interact with their customers, whether it's on the phone or going to their stores, have been closed for now for the safety of their staff, which interestingly, those staff are actually Nigerian. But they said that those places are, those contact centers are shut down for now. However, the service is still running. You can, in Nigeria, for instance, you can reach anything you want on MTN on the number 180. So that's what they've sent to everybody this evening, saying you can reach us on 180 or go on Twitter or the website, and you can get whatever you want there. However, interfacing with customers and going to their customer service centers have been shut down for now, yes.
And generally, what would you say the mood in Nigeria is at the moment based on what is happening in South Africa?
Well, it is a lot of anger. I will say that. It's a lot of anger. Nigeria and South Africa have a very interesting history. You know, we are nowhere near South Africa. However, when South Africa was going through apartheid and when Nelson Mandela needed all the help and all the support that he did, Nigeria was one of the countries that stood up for that. And many Nigerians still remember this. It's a very big deal to us, you know, because we don't have much, but we are able to give from what we have, you know. So it feels like a bit of betrayal. There is also a sense that the people who are perpetrating these acts do not understand the history of the relationship between both countries. And of course, many people who go to do business in South Africa from Nigeria are regular businessmen who are trying to fend for their families. Of course, there is some criminality. We have heard about that. However, the majority of Nigerians who do business in South Africa are regular people who just want to fend for their families and do what they can to build up their lives. And having their businesses burnt and their lives taken away from them has been a really, really annoying thing for Nigerian citizens. 120, over 120. It was 120 at the time when the woman who came for a program in South Africa was killed in her hotel room, according to reports that we have. So over 120 people have been killed since 2016. So you have to understand that Nigerians are very upset about this. South African nationals live in Nigeria, not one. We don't have any report of one person being killed, you know? So it's a very annoying situation for Nigerians. You have to get that many Nigerians, call us what you want, but we're not the people who would attack you and kill you, you know, for no reason. It's just not who we are. So it feels like a bit of betrayal, and you can get that sense from everybody. Everybody that you talk to about this situation will just feel, why would they do this to us? You know, so it's there. Hold on a second. We get it that the South African government has stated categorically that these may not be xenophobic attacks targeted at Nigerians, because other nationalities and businesses from other countries are affected as well. Okay, well, that's an acceptable opinion. However, Nigerian interest, all right, the Nigerian has to be protected. Our foreign policy states that the Nigerian life must be protected outside anywhere it is in this country. And if that interest is not protected, it's only natural that you will get some anger and some disappointment from the Nigerian people. Right. Because we treat foreign nationals really well within our borders.
And Kayla, I'm trying to draw your attention to a point which you made before you wrapped up right now, that the Deputy High Commissioner for South Africa's High Commission here in Ghana has been addressing a press conference about a couple of hours ago. And he said that sometimes there are areas where South Africans used to own businesses, and those businesses may have been sold to other people. And so when those who are looting come around, they're not really looking for people who we're calling foreign nationals. They don't really care. They're just criminals who are looting, and so they don't really care who owns that place. They can be South Africans, but it just so happens that those places are now owned by other nationals apart from South Africans, which is why it looks as if foreign nationals are being attacked. But that this is the work of pure criminally minded people. Do Nigerians feel that
way? No Nigerians, many Nigerians do not feel that way. However, some Nigerians do. If you listen to a lot of the statements from the South African High Commissioner, Mr. Bobby Moreau, and you listen to the Nigerian Foreign Affairs Minister, Mr. Jeffrey Onyema, you can hear the shift away from the fact that this is a xenophobic attack, which is targeted at Nigerians, and the fact that this is just the work of miscreants who are criminals and trying to take advantage of the situation, sell an idea out there and then perpetrate your crimes. We get that. We hear all of that. However, for the Nigerian people, it is important that Nigerian interests are protected. Mr. Bobby Moreau had made mention, in fact, it was a big story here in Nigeria where he said the attacks are not xenophobic. You know, a lot of Nigerians were asking, oh, really? Is that what the situation is? Is that how you feel about it? However, his point was the fact that ShopRite and SPAC in South Africa were attacked by those hoodlums in South Africa, and he called the attacks there sporadic acts of violence. Those are the words that he used. However, true or not that may be, even if it's a targeted attack on Nigerians or a targeted attack on foreign nationals or just criminal elements robbing the place, regardless of whose nationality the owners of the shops are, whatever it is, the interest of the Nigerians must be protected. That is the point. And if the South African government is able to rein in these hoodlums, because these hoodlums will take advantage of anything. If the South African government is on their feet and doing what they can to ensure that foreign nationals or even citizens of South Africa are kept safe, that will be appreciated by the Nigerian government.
Okay.
The idea is that we are being affected by this, and it has to stop.
Okay. Now speaking about the Deputy High Commissioner's press conference held here in Ghana a couple of hours ago, he actually says that the idea that a Nigerian in South Africa is called a foreigner in itself is a foreign concept, that we're all Africans and we should be able to recognize one another as such. But let me just get your thoughts or your report on what the Nigerian authorities are doing about this situation as well.
I will start by telling you that a lot of Nigerians buy into the concept of Ubuntu, which is what the South African government sells. We are because you are. You know, it's a beautiful concept. We are because you are. So South Africa is home, you know, and of course, you know, as an African as well, that this continent belongs to all of us. There's a free trade agreement trying to make a free movement, rather, agreement trying to make its way. We have the AFTA going on. We have all of these things to make businesses easier for all of us because our continent needs to prosper. We need to grow the continent to where it's supposed to be. So this is something that a lot of Nigerians rather buy into. You know, so it's a very important part of our foreign policy and a very important part of the way we live as Nigerians. We don't live in isolation. We know that we need each other and we have to work together to make each other better so that the whole itself can get better. Now, when it comes to what you asked about, you know, Nigerians, the feeling of Nigerians, the work that the government is doing about the situation, you have to understand that the Nigerian government is pushed to the wall right now. Now, we are not known for wars and things like that, but the Nigerian government will do what it can to protect the Nigerian citizens. So we've pulled out of a lot of agreements that we have with South Africa. Okay. A lot of the meetings. The WEF is on right now. We have to pull out of a lot of those things. Okay. And then, of course, there's talk about calling back the High Commissioner in South Africa. There's talk about, you know, getting compensation for Nigerians who have been affected by all of this crisis in South Africa. These are some of the things that the Nigerian government, under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, headed by Mr. Geoffrey Onyema, are pushing for. And there's something else. They talked about something called an early warning arrangement where the Nigerian authorities and the South African authorities talk a bit about, you know, whether they've heard any rumors of attacks and whatnot and do what they can to tackle that. And then there's talk about a foreign exchange program between Nigerians and South Africans, just so the youth of today can understand the history and, you know, maybe make better choices in the future. Those are some of the things that are going on. But the Nigerian government is taking a hard stance against attacks on Nigerians because Nigerian interests, like I said earlier, have to be protected. Very
well, Kayla Megwade. Kayla, thank you very much for those updates. And Kayla is with Channels TV in Nigeria, and hopefully we'll get to solve this problem once and for all. And Deputy Commissioner again to Ghana, Tapelo Medumani, has also been condemning what he's calling hasty generalization of the attacks on all of South Africans.
My government in South Africa is part of the African continent. We are not an island somewhere. Our histories are linked. We are the same people. The concept of an African being a foreigner on the African continent is itself a foreign concept. But the issue is this. Good things that many do are sometimes rendered or lessened by negative acts of a few. So where you have 100 people doing extremely well, just 2 have got to do the worst thing to be remembered. And when people remember, oh, it's from that country, oh, it's from that country, and it does not mean that all what we're saying is that, well, foreigners are dealing in fake goods, because it will also be indictment on ourselves that we let fake goods into our country. But it is part of a larger problem.
Deputy South African High Commissioner